Good morning, everyone. So in the last class, we have started collections, right? I have told you what is a collection in the last class, and we have discussed what is collection framework, and then we have discussed about collections class, what is a collection, what is collection framework, and what is this collections class, right? On. Then we have discussed about arrays, what are the disadvantages of arrays, advantages of collections, right? And I told you when we should go for array, when we should go for collection. Is this clear? Then we have discussed about the differences between arrays and collection. And I have introduced 9 collection interfaces. I told you collection chapter is dependent on 9 key interfaces, which are called as collection interfaces. Which are called as collection interfaces. So total 9 collection interfaces are there, right or not? So now all these collection interfaces are available in java.util package, and Sun Microsystem provided implementation classes to all these collection interfaces. They only provided implementation classes to all these collection interfaces. Are you following or not? So Sun Microsystem has provided implementation classes to all these collection interfaces. Is this clear? Answer me. Then, so I told you collection is an object of any one of the implementation class of about 9 interfaces. Collection is an object of any one of the implementation class of about 9 interfaces, right or not? About 9 interfaces. Is this clear? After that, I have shown you all the implementation classes, right? All the implementation classes of collection, list, set, queue, process we have seen. Okay, is it not? And I've told you collection is the root interface in the collection hierarchy. It contains some methods which are common to all the collections. And I've told those methods, right or not? I think these are the things we have discussed in the last class. Now let's continue from wrapper classes. So should we start now? So let us start understanding something called wrapper classes. Shall we? I hope everyone understood what we have discussed earlier. Okay. So I told you a collection is an object, and a collection object is used to represent a group of other individual objects as a single entity. A collection is an object, and a collection object is used to represent a group of other individual objects as a single entity. Yes or no? Okay, so let us start something called wrapper classes. So what is wrapper class? What is wrapper class? Listen, wrapper class is used to convert Wrapper class is used to convert a single primitive value into object. To convert a single primitive value into object, we use wrapper class. So wrapper class is used to convert a primitive value into object. So to convert a primitive value into object, we use wrapper class. Primitive value means integer value, floating value, character value, Boolean value. These are called primitive value. Primitive value is a single value. So to convert a primitive value into object, we use wrapper class. So wrapper class object wraps. Wrapper class object wraps. Wraps means contains a single primitive value. A wrapper class object wraps. Wraps means contains a single primitive value. Is this clear? So wrapper class object wraps or contains a, a single value, a primitive value, a single primitive value. Is this clear? So wrapper class object wraps. Wraps means contains a single primitive value. And listen okay. So listen, to convert different primitive values into objects, Sun Microsystem has provided different wrapper classes. In Java, to convert different primitive values into objects, Sun Microsystem has provided different wrapper classes. So wrapper class is used to convert a primitive value into object. To convert a primitive value into object, we use wrapper class. Wrapper class object wraps. Wraps means contains a single primitive value. So wrapper class is used to convert a primitive value into object. Wrapper class object wraps. Wraps means contains a single primitive value. In Java, to convert different primitive values into objects, Sun Microsystem has provided different wrapper classes. So in Java, to convert different primitive values into objects, Sun Microsystem has provided different wrapper classes. So see, what are the primitive data types? We know. What are the primitive data types? Byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. These are all primitive data. For every primitive data type, Sun Microsystem has provided one wrapper class. For every primitive data type, Sun Microsystem has provided one. Say for byte, what is the wrapper class? Byte. How do you differentiate between class name and primitive data type? First letter of class name is capital, but data types are primitive data types are keywords. So you need to write in all small cases, right? For short primitive data type, what is the wrapper class? Short. For int, integer. For long, long. For float, float. For double, double. For boolean, boolean. For char, character. So for every primitive data type, Sun Microsystem has provided one wrapper class. So wrapper class is used to convert primitive value into object. Wrapper class is used to convert primitive value into object. Is this clear? Wrapper class object wraps. Wraps means contains a single primitive value. In Java, to convert different primitive values into objects, Sun Microsystem has provided different wrapper classes. In Java, to convert different primitive values into objects, Sun Microsystem has provided different wrapper classes. So see, these are primitive data type, and for these primitive data types, these are wrapper classes. These are wrapper classes. Is this clear? These are primitive data type, and for these primitive data type, these are wrapper classes. And all these wrapper classes are available in which package? Java.lang package. All the wrapper classes are available in Java.lang. Wrapper classes are classes only, and all these wrapper classes are available in Java.lang package. Why we use wrapper class? Wrapper class is used to convert wrapper class is used to convert a single primitive value into object. To convert a single primitive value into object, we use wrapper class. Is this clear? Answer me. So what is 10? 10 is a primitive value. Now we want to convert this primitive value into object. So to convert this primitive value into object, we have to use which wrapper class? Integer wrapper class, because 10 is int type. For int primitive data type, the wrapper class is. So let's see how to convert, shall we? In the same way, I'm taking 2.5. 2.5 is a primitive value. Now, if you want to convert into object, we have to use some wrapper class. Which wrapper class? Either we can use float wrapper class, or in the same way, what is true? It is a Boolean value, primitive value. We want to convert into object. So we have to use which wrapper class? Boolean wrapper class. So let's see how to convert, shall we? So listen. Let's go to java.api document. And in in API document, we have java.lang package. In java.lang package, see, we have a class integer, which is a wrapper class. For all wrapper classes, we have one super class called number. Number is a super class for all the wrapper classes. For all the classes, object is the super class. For number, object is the super class. Number is also a class. An integer class wraps a value of the primitive type int in an object. An integer class wraps a value of the primitive type int in an object. An object of type integer contains a single field. Field means variable or value whose type is int. So see, we have to create object of this wrapper class. So we have constructors. We have constructor. So see, we have parameterized constructor which take integer value. We have another parameterized constructor which takes string. There are two constructors are there. Both are parameterized. One is taking integer as a parameter. One is taking string as a parameter. So using this constructor, we can create object of integer wrapper class. Is this clear? And we have some methods we will see. Let's use this constructor to create object. Tell integer some obj is equal to new integer of, we have a constructor which take int as a parameter. I'm passing 10. So our integer wrapper class object will be created and this object contains a single value 10. So I'm converting a primitive value into object by using integer wrapper class. Now this integer wrapper class object wraps. Wraps means contains a single primitive value. Now I'm displaying this object obj. If I display obj, what is the output I will get? 10. Is this clear? Now tell me, I have 2.5. 2.5 is a primitive value. Now we want to convert this primitive value 2.5 into object. So what we have to do? We have to use either float or double wrapper class. So tell me, if I display obj, output will come as 10. What is the output will come? 10. Value will come. Now see, we have another wrapper class. Either we can use float or double. See, float is a wrapper class. And see, we have constructors. So we have parameterized constructor. See, three constructors are there. One takes double value, one takes floating value, one takes string value. So I'm passing what? Floating value. Is this clear? Answer me. Yes. So now we can take this floating value. So let's try. Shall we? Now see. So float obj is equal to new float. I'm passing some floating value. So I'm converting this primitive value into object. So one wrapper class object will be created and this object contains a single primitive value 2.5. I'm displaying this system.out.println obj. I will get output as 2. In the same way, true is a primitive value. I want to convert into object. We have to use Boolean wrapper class. So cells. See, we have a class called Boolean. See, we have constructor. We can use this parameterized constructor to create object of Boolean. Tell me. Boolean obj is equal to new Boolean of true. So I'm representing a single primitive value into object by using Boolean wrapper class. This Boolean wrapper class object contains a single primitive value true. Now if I display this obj, I will get output as true. Cells. Shall we see? So I want to convert 10, which is a primitive value, into object. We have to use wrapper class. Which wrapper class? Integer wrapper class. So see, integer obj is equal to new integer of 10. So, and I will display this obj. I will get output as 10. So what happens? One object will be created. Which class object? Integer wrapper class object. And what this object contains is single primitive value 10. Obj is a reference variable which holds reference number of the object and points to this object. Is this clear? So obj is a reference variable which holds reference number of the object and points to the object. Is this clear? So this is how we can represent. This is how we can convert a primitive value into object. Now taking float obj is equal to new float of some 2 points. And I'm displaying this obj. So if I display obj, I will get output as 2.5. So what happens? An object will be created. Which object? Float wrapper class object. And this object contains a single primitive value. What is that? 2.5. Now this reference variable obj holds reference number of the object and points to this object. Is this clear? So this is how we can convert a single floating primitive value into object. Now taking another one, Boolean, some obj is equal to new Boolean of true. I'm saying system.out.println obj. So what is the output I will get? True. So what will happen? One object will be created. Which object? Boolean wrapper class object will be created. And this object contains a single primitive value. What is that? True. Now this reference variable obj holds reference number of the object and points to the object. So this is how we can convert Boolean primitive value into object by using Boolean wrapper class. Okay, so let's try working example. So right click new text document. I'm saying wrapper class example 1 dot shell. Public class wrapper class example 1. In that I'm writing main method. Is this clear? Now see, I'm creating integer wrapper class object to convert single integer value into object. I'm displaying system dot obj. I will take obj1 as the name. So I will get output as 10. In the same way, I'm taking float wrapper class. Float obj is equal to new float of some 2.5. So this is how we can convert a primitive value into object. I'm displaying obj2. I'll get output as 2.5. The same way, I'm taking Boolean wrapper class. Boolean obj3 is equal to new Boolean of some true. I'm displaying system.out.println obj3. I'll get output as true. So this is how we can convert integer primitive value into object by using integer wrapper. Here we are converting a float primitive value into object by using float wrapper class. Here we are converting Boolean primitive value into object by using Boolean wrapper class. Is this clear, everyone? Okay, let's try. So Java C wrapper class example 1, Java C wrapper class example 1. See, we got the output as 10, 2.5 and 2. Is this clear, everyone? Okay. Now, the next thing what we need to understand is, let's see, converting a wrapper class object into primitive value. We have seen how to convert primitive value into wrapper class object. Now we are learning how to convert wrapper class object into primitive value. So let's try. So suppose we have created wrapper class object, integer wrapper class object, which contains a primitive value 10. Now we want to convert this wrapper class object into primitive value. So for this, we have to use see. In every wrapper class, you will find one method to convert a wrapper class object into primitive value. For example, in integer wrapper class, what is the method to convert a wrapper class object into primitive value? The method is int value. You can see the method int value. You can convert into long value also. You can convert into long also, float also, double also. By using these methods, we can convert, okay, wrapper class object into primitive value. Any value you can convert, any primitive value. So tell me. So what is the method? Int value. So it is available in integer wrapper class, instance method. So we need integer wrapper class object to call this method. So tell me how to call this method. How to call this method? Obj. Obj is wrapper class object dot int value. What this method will do? It will convert this wrapper class object into primitive value. This returns primitive value I. So I will get primitive value I, which what 10. In the same way, I'm creating float wrapper class object. I want to convert into primitive value. So what will be the method? Obj dot float value will be the method. It returns floating value. Which value? Floating value. Is this clear, everyone? Then I'm creating Boolean wrapper class object. Boolean wrapper class object. And this Boolean wrapper class object contains a single Boolean value. Now I want to convert into object. So we have to use Boolean value method. Obj dot Boolean value method, which returns Boolean primitive value. Is this clear? So this is how we can convert integer wrapper class object into primitive value. This is how we can convert float wrapper class object into primitive value. This is how we can convert Boolean wrapper class object into primitive value. Is this clear? This is converting primitive value into object. This is converting wrapper class object into primitive value. So same example, let's take. We have wrapper class object obj. I want to convert into primitive value. How to convert? What is the method we have to use? Obj1 dot int value. It returns integer value which I'm storing in I. Now we can display this I. Tell me, I want to convert this float wrapper class object obj into primitive value. How to convert? Obj2 dot float value. Now it will return floating value. I'm displaying this. System dot out dot println x. In the same way, I want to convert this Boolean wrapper class object into primitive value. So Boolean b is equal to obj3 dot Boolean value. I'm displaying b. So this is how we can convert. Let's compile and run. So this 10, 2.5 and 2. So this is how we can convert a single primitive value into object. Sorry, wrapper class object into primitive value. I hope you understood this. These are the methods are there. Int value, float value, Boolean value. Following everyone? Okay. So we have understood how to convert a primitive value into a wrapper class object and how to convert a wrapper class object into primitive value. So let us try to understand the next concept. What is that? Auto boxing and auto unboxing. Auto boxing and auto unboxing. So let's try to understand auto boxing and auto unboxing. Okay, see. So what is auto boxing? See here actually in Java from JDK 1.5 version, Sun Microsystem has added auto boxing and auto unboxing feature. So auto boxing and auto unboxing feature is added in Java from 1.5 version onwards. So in Java from JDK 1.5 version, Sun Microsystem has added auto boxing and auto unboxing feature. Is this clear? So from JDK 1.5 version onwards, Sun Microsystem has added auto boxing and auto unboxing feature in Java. So in Java, from JDK 1.5 version onwards, Sun Microsystem has added auto boxing and auto unboxing feature in Java. Is this clear? So let's see. So what is auto boxing? So what is auto boxing? The automatic conversion. The automatic conversion. Is this clear? The automatic conversion of a primitive value into a wrapper class object. The automatic conversion of a primitive value. The automatic conversion of a primitive value into a wrapper class object by the JVM is called as auto boxing. So what is auto boxing? The automatic conversion of a primitive value into a wrapper class object by the JVM. The automatic conversion of a primitive value into wrapper class object by the JVM is called as auto boxing. The automatic conversion of a primitive value into wrapper class object by the JVM is called as auto boxing. So what is auto boxing? The automatic conversion of a primitive value into wrapper class object by the JVM is called as auto boxing. Is this clear? So what is auto boxing? The automatic conversion of a primitive value into wrapper class object by the JVM is called as auto boxing. People following or not? Answer me. Now see. So example C. I'm saying integer obj1. What is obj1? Reference variable. Reference variable of which class? Integer class. So obj is a reference variable of integer class. In this reference variable obj1, I'm assigning 10, which is a single integer value, So 10 is a single integer value. I'm assigning to this reference variable obj1. Is this clear? So 10 is a single primitive value. I'm assigning to this reference variable obj1. Is this clear? So what will happen? Automatically, JVM converts this single primitive value into integer wrapper class object. Automatically, JVM will convert. This is called auto boxing. So in auto boxing, what we have to do? We no need to create object of integer wrapper class. Just create reference variable of integer wrapper class and assign primitive value. So directly assign primitive value into wrapper class reference variable. So JVM automatically converts this primitive value into this wrapper class object. This is called auto box. In the same way, I'm creating float wrapper class reference variable. Obj is a reference variable of wrapper class float wrapper class. And to this reference variable, I'm assigning single primitive value. So automatically JVM converts this single primitive value into float wrapper class object. This is called auto box. Here I'm creating Boolean wrapper class reference variable. And I'm assigning single primitive value, which one? True, to this wrapper class reference variable. So automatically JVM will convert this single primitive value into wrapper class object. What is this called? Auto box. So in auto boxing, we assign a primitive value directly to a wrapper class reference variable. In auto boxing, we assign a single primitive value to a wrapper class reference variable directly. Are you following or not? So this is called auto boxing. So what is auto boxing? The automatic conversion of a primitive value into a wrapper class object by the JVM is called as auto boxing. So here JVM will do auto boxing. Automatically JVM convert this primitive value into wrapper class object. This primitive value JVM converts into automatically float wrapper class object. It will convert this primitive value into Boolean wrapper class object. This is called auto boxing. So the automatic conversion of a primitive value into wrapper class object by the JVM is called as auto boxing. So this is called auto boxing. This is called auto boxing. This is called auto boxing. Is this clear, everyone? Okay, next, what is auto unboxing? The automatic conversion of a wrapper class object into a primitive value. The automatic conversion of a wrapper class object into a primitive value by the JVM is called as auto unboxing. The automatic conversion of a wrapper class object into a primitive value by the JVM is called as auto unboxing. So in auto unboxing, we can directly assign a wrapper class object to a primitive variable directly. Then JVM will convert that wrapper class object into primitive value automatically, which is called auto unboxing. See, this is wrapper class object obj1, and here JVM will do auto boxing. Now obj1 is a wrapper class object. I is a primitive variable. I'm directly assigning wrapper class object to primitive variable. So what will happen? JVM automatically convert this wrapper class object into primitive value. This is called auto unboxing. Similarly, here I'm creating float wrapper class reference variable. I'm assigning single floating value. Now JVM will automatically convert this single floating value into this wrapper class object. What is this called? Auto boxing. I'm assigning full wrapper class object to primitive variable directly. So JVM will convert this wrapper class object into this primitive value, which is called auto unboxing. In the same way, here auto boxing JVM will do. Now here I'm assigning this wrapper class object Boolean to primitive variable, right, directly. So JVM will convert this wrapper class object into primitive value directly. What is this called? Auto unboxing. So let's try next example. See, should we? Now listen. Now, so see, integer obj1 is equal to 10. I'm directly assigning a primitive value to a wrapper class reference variable. So JVM will perform. JVM automatically convert this primitive value into integer wrapper class object. What is this called? Auto boxing. I'm displaying obj1. So if I display obj1, what is the output I will get? 10. Is this clear? Now, in the same way, I'm taking float wrapper class reference variable. I'm assigning single primitive value. What is this called? Why? Because JVM automatically convert this single floating value into wrapper class object. What is this called? Auto boxing. And I'm displaying obj2. What is the output I will get? 2.5. Is this clear? I'm creating Boolean wrapper class reference variable. I'm assigning single primitive value. So here JVM will perform auto boxing. So directly JVM convert this primitive value into wrapper class object automatically, which is called auto boxing. I'm displaying obj3. The output will be true. In the same way, now I'm taking one primitive variable I, and to this I'm assigning wrapper class object directly. So JVM will convert this wrapper class object into primitive value automatically, which is called auto unboxing. Auto unboxing. So if I display I, the output I will get as 10. Next, here I'm taking float variable, say float f, and I'm assigning wrapper class object obj2 directly to wrapper class reference, primitive variable. So here JVM automatically convert this wrapper class object into primitive value, which is called auto unboxing. Now I'm displaying this F. So I will get the output as 2.5. Is this clear? Next I'm taking Boolean P. P is a primitive variable. Boolean type. I'm assigning wrapper class object obj3 directly to Boolean primitive variable. So automatically JVM convert this Boolean wrapper class object into primitive value, which is called auto unboxing. So when I display P, I'll get output as true. Is this clear? See, directly we are assigning primitive value to wrapper class reference variable. Are you following or not? Directly we are assigning or not? Everyone. Where to go? This one. By default it is double. So we have to use suffix F. Okay. But everyone understood this or not? Answer me. So let's compile. Compile or run. So when I run this C, 10 2.5 true, 10 2.5 true. Because we are converting primitive value into wrapper class object using auto box. Then we are converting wrapper class object into primitive value, which is auto unbox. Is this clear? Answer me. Understood what is auto boxing and what is auto unboxing? So in auto unboxing, directly we can assign primitive value to a wrapper class reference variable. Then JVM automatically convert this primitive value into wrapper class object automatically. This is called auto box. In auto unboxing, we assign directly wrapper class object to a primitive variable. Then JVM automatically convert a wrapper class object into primitive value, which is called auto unboxing. Understood, everyone? Okay, so we have understood what is auto boxing, what is auto unboxing. Then you tell me, can we perform arithmetic operations and relational operations on objects? We cannot perform. Can we perform arithmetic operations and relational operations on objects? We cannot perform. On objects, we can perform, right or not? Okay, we can perform. Very good. So let's perform. So I'll create two employee class objects and I will perform arithmetic and relational operations. According to you, we can perform. Let's see. See. So I'm creating employee class. In that I'm taking int id is equal to id. I'm writing one constructor. Write this. I'm creating object of employee class. Employee E1 is equal to new employee of 10. According to you, okay, I'm writing the code, okay, done. Then, as you told me, we can perform arithmetic operations on objects direct. I'm performing E1 plus E2. E1 less than E2, correct? So tell me, what is the first output? E1, E2 are objects, right? Objects of employee class. According to you, we can perform arithmetic and relational operations on objects, right or not? Tell me the first output. First output. First output, second output. Tell me the output. What is the output? Tell me the output. So first output is 30, second output is true, right or not? See, by mistake error is coming. Okay. First operand type is employee, second operand type is employee. And I'm performing which operation? Addition on objects. Can we perform? We cannot. We cannot. You will get error. So we cannot perform arithmetic and relational operations on objects. Can we perform? We cannot perform. We cannot perform. We cannot perform arithmetic and relational operations on objects. Can we perform? We cannot. We cannot. But what we are learning, wrapper classes on, we can perform directly. We can directly perform arithmetic and relational operations on wrapper class objects. On wrapper class objects, we can perform what, but not on other class objects. So on other class object can be performed. Huh? Can we perform arithmetic and relational operations on other class objects? No, we can perform only on wrapper class object. Only on wrapper class object we can perform. Is this clear? Is this clear? Now you tell me, middle person, what is auto boxing? What is auto boxing? Very good. Very good. Very good. You, Rohit, what is auto boxing? Very good. What is auto unboxing? Corner way. Very good. What is a collection? Good. Okay. Very good. Can you tell me what is auto boxing? Hmm. Well, what is auto boxing? Wrapper class? What is auto unboxing? What is collection? I told you a collection is an object and a collection is used to represent a group of other individual objects as a single entity. Or in simple language, a collection is an object. In collection object, we store group of other individual objects. After storing group of other individual objects, a collection object represents one entity. You are eating the words in between. Maybe hungry, right or not? And those last three people are very busy. From starting onwards, I'm observing. That guy is hiding from me continuously. And those two people are continuously talking. Interviewer definitely will ask questions from collection. Definitely. No interview is completed without collection. Collections chapter is a favorite chapter for interviewers. Definitely all these questions will come. At the time also, behave like this one. When I'm discussing very important chapters, people are missing the classes. That much interest you have. I thought to discuss networking chapter also, but I will not. Yesterday, one student told, "Sir, networking also important. Please discuss." So I said, "Yes, I will add, but I will not." If this is how the students are, then why should I add? I thought yesterday only I decided. I will add networking chapters. And some people are yesterday asked me, "Sir, please discuss annotations also." I will not. I told I will discuss, but I will leave. So this much interest you have, why should I discuss? Okay. If you show interest, I will show interest. You are not showing. Why should I show interest? Listen, if you're lazy, I'm double lazy than you. If you're interested, I'm double interested than you. Okay? Let's see. Let's try. I told crystal clear why we use wrapper class, what is the use of wrapper class. Yesterday we have discussed the differences between arrays and collection. At the time, I told you one difference. Arrays store primitive values and objects, but collection store only objects. But what is my requirement? I want to store primitive values in collection, but collection store only. Then how to store primitive values in collection? That's why we should convert primitive value into object before storing in collection. So to convert primitive value into object, we use wrapper classes. That's why we are learning wrapper classes, and you don't know. Before starting collection, I'm just showing you wrapper classes because we want to store primitive values in collection, but collection never store primitive values. Collection store only objects. Then how to store primitive values into collection? So before storing primitive value in collection, convert them into object. To convert them into object, we have to use wrapper classes. That's why we are learning wrapper classes. And instead of converting primitive value into object and wrapper class object into primitive value, we can use auto boxing, auto unboxing, which is a feature added from Java 1.5. So before Java 1.5, this is how we have to convert a primitive value into wrapper class object. This is how. This is how. This is how. And this is how we have to convert a wrapper class object into primitive value before 1.5. But from 1.5, we have auto boxing, auto unboxing. So this is how we can convert a primitive. We don't need to convert. We just assign. JVM will convert automatically. JVM will convert automatically. Here JVM will convert automatically. And you can't able to answer. And you can't able to tell what is auto boxing. Auto boxing. The automatic conversion. The automatic conversion of a primitive value. Primitive value means single integer value, single floating value, single character value, single boolean value, single floating value. These are called primitive values because primitive value means single value. The data types of primitive values are primitive data type. So to convert this primitive, the automatic conversion of a primitive value into an object, we use wrapper class. Sorry, auto boxing I'm talking about. The automatic conversion of a primitive value into a wrapper class object by the JVM. So JVM will do this automatically. By the JVM means JVM is doing this automatically. And the automatic conversion, reverse, the automatic conversion of a wrapper class object into primitive value by the JVM. It's called auto unboxing. So who is doing this? JVM is doing this. By the JVM, that's what I'm saying. Automatically, who is doing? JVM. And you can't able to answer. Array, not important, leave it, let's stop. Not important, just do our own work. Okay, whether you come to class, don't come to class, I will complete the course. Okay, one person is also coming, I will complete the course. Is this clear? Whether you practice, don't practice, up to you. If you practice, you will be benefited. You can respond you can perform in interview, you can get the job, you can work in the company. If you don't practice, you will struggle. I will not struggle. But you can give a feedback because of sir, I'm not able to perform. You can give a feedback. Yes, give, no problem. I'm doing my job properly. You have to do it. Your job. You're not doing it. At the last, you're giving all the credits to me, right or not? Whether it is positive or negative, right? Good. No, positive credit you will not give. Negative only you'll give. Let's try. So, let's move. So, I have asked you just now, can we perform arithmetic operation and relational operations on objects or not? We cannot. Already we discussed this. How can you add to employee class object? How can you add one student object, one string class object? How can you add? How can you perform relational operation on objects? You will get bad operand compile time error. Already have discussed this while discussing operators. You don't remember. We cannot apply relational operations on objects. But equality operators we can. Equality operator compare reference number. But relational operation we cannot. Arithmetic operation we cannot. But just now what I told you, we can directly perform arithmetic and relational operations on wrapper class object. We cannot perform on any object except wrapper class object. So see, what is this? I'm creating wrapper class object. Auto boxing. If you don't want auto boxing, you create like this. You create. If you don't create, you just assign, JVM will create. You just do like this, JVM will create. Auto boxing, boxing. OBJ1, OBJ2. These are wrapper class object. They are holding a values 10, 20. This wrapper class object contains single value 10, 20. Now see, I'm performing arithmetic operations on wrapper class object. Not only addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus. Now can we perform? Yes, we can. It will add, not reference number, it will add values 10 plus 20, 30. That 30 I'm storing in another wrapper class reference variable. Auto boxing will happen. Again, JVM will do auto boxing. 30 it will convert to integer wrapper class object. If I display OBJ3, I will get output as 30. In the same way, we can directly perform relational operations on wrapper class object. It will compare values. OBJ1 value 10, which is less than equal to OBJ2 value 20. Condition true. It returns true, which is a primitive value, Boolean primitive value. I'm assigning to Boolean wrapper class reference variable. Say OBJ4. So if I display OBJ4, what is the output I will get? 4. True. This is what the point I told you. And one person is asking me, sir, can I install IDE? I'm going to show you IDE how. I'm going to show you now. I have not started. Yesterday I told. Collection chapter I'm going to discuss by using Eclipse-IDE. But let me first complete this. And before starting collection example, I'll show you how to use IDE. Because of you only, you're only losing a lot of things. You're only losing a lot of things. You don't. Okay, up to you. When we were learning, we used to search what we are missing, what we are escaping, and what is new. And we used to ask to our trainers, our faculties, sir, please discuss this, please discuss this. But you people, if I'm I'm discussing also, you're missing the classes. And you're talking the class. Busy in class. Why you're coming to class, I don't know. To show off, right? To show to others, I'm attending class, that's why. Okay, let's try. So unnecessarily I've written this program. When I'm writing, some people are noting down also this also. I'm performing arithmetic operations on employee class object. I'm noting down. First they told wrong answer. Yes, we can apply. Then I'm writing. Then also noting. Why you're noting down this wrong answer, wrong thing? Sir, you should say, you should use brain. Sir, how can we perform arithmetic and relational operation on objects? You cannot perform. See, E1 is operand, E2 is operand. So you'll get compile time error, bad operand types. If I don't tell this, next time also you'll say tell same answer. That's why I have written to show you error so that you can remember that. No, we cannot apply. I will remove this, but we can perform arithmetic and relational operations on which object? Wrapper class object. See, integer obj1 is equal to 10. Auto boxing. If you don't want auto boxing, you create new integer of 10. Then use auto boxing, new feature. Integer obj2 is equal to 20. The name, no need to be obj2. You can take I, j up to you. I'm taking like that, 20. Then see, I'm taking integer obj3 is equal to obj1 plus obj2. Then I'm displaying obj3. Then in the same way, I'm taking Boolean, not primitive data type, wrapper class. By seeing the first letter, capital, you need to understand it is a class. And this is reference variable of Boolean wrapper class. And in that, I'm saying obj1 less than equal to obj2. Condition satisfied, true, which is a primitive value assigning to Boolean wrapper class reference variable. And I'm displaying obj4. I will get output as true. Here also auto boxing will be done. Say this. Java C wrapper class example 3. Java wrapper class example 3. What is correct, you should note down. What is incorrect also, you are noting down. You're not applying your brain. This is what correct. On wrapper class object, we can apply. But on any other class objects, we cannot. Is this clear? Clear? Yeah. Good, you're answering, but don't eat the words. Following or not? So that is the concept we have. Clear? Or if you listen, you can answer with interest. As you're not listening with interest, that's why you're not able to answer. It's all about interest. You'll go to movie with interest, right? All 3 hours movie you'll watch with interest. Everything you'll remember. Dialogue, right or not? Songs, everything you'll remember, right? Even expression also you'll remember. Right or not? Why? With interest you will watch. Class means no interest. As a burden, we are coming to class, right? Good. I hope you understood wrapper classes. So this is all about wrapper classes. So we need wrapper classes to learn collection. Collections only we are learning. But in collections, we use wrapper classes, auto boxing, auto unboxing. That's why first I have discussed this. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Now I'm going to start collections now. In collections, we have list collection, set collection, queue. We have map collection. But most important are list, set, and map. So I will discuss first list collection. But before discussing list collection, let me show you how to use Eclipse-IDE. So why? Why? Because collection chapter I'm going to discuss by using Eclipse-IDE. Okay. So let me show you how to download Eclipse-IDE, how to open Eclipse-IDE, what is workspace, what is perspective, what is views, and how to use Eclipse-IDE. If you know, tell me, I'll directly use it. If you don't know, tell me, I'll discuss. In last batches, people have told me when I'm discussing, shall I show you how to download, open, and how to use Eclipse-IDE? Then they, no sir, we know already. Then I have asked some question. Can you tell me what is the perspective we use for developing core Java application? Over. Can you tell me the directory structure of core Java application? Gone. Can you tell me some views in Eclipse-IDE? No. So listen. So let's try. Shall we? Let's try. Let me show you first how to download the Eclipse-IDE, then how to open the Eclipse-IDE, how to use it. And then I will show you workspace, perspective, views, all those things. So let's open the browser. Any browser, whatever the browser you have. Don't ask me questions. Sir, can I use Firefox? Sir, can I use Chrome? Sir, can I? Any browser. Okay. What should be asked? What need to be asked? You will not ask. What? Okay. Let's try. Open the browser. In the browser, as part of URL section, type one URL. What is the URL? Actually, Eclipse is an organization. They have one official website called eclipse.org. It's a company organization. And they are giving Eclipse-IDE as an open source, free of cost. Are you following or not? But there are some ways are there, they will get the profit. If anything is open source, what is the what profit they will get? Nothing now. But there are some ways are there, they will get the profit. Okay, see here. Just press enter. So eclipse.org website will open. Eclipse Foundation is the organization name. And this is their official website, Eclipse.org, eclipse.org. So this is the website. You can see this is the website from where we can download Eclipse-IDE. Okay. See the website. They have changed the UI. UI means user interface. What we see is called user interface after opening the website. So now if you see right to top corner, we have an option called download. Yes, there only we have that option. So internet is slow, so it is loading. Okay. So go to the last top right corner. We have an option called download. Click on that option down. Once I complete Eclipse-IDE, I'll show you list collection. We will start. Just a second. I'll connect to router. It's loading very slow. Okay. When you click on download, you will see one other web page will open. You can see again it is showing down. But listen, before click on download, see, you can see one option here. What is the option? Download packages. So don't click on download. Okay, go to download packages first. Click. Now you will see some several download packages. This is which version? Eclipse-IDE 2025-12. Yes, December. Last year, December release. Actually, in Eclipse-IDE, Eclipse organization, Eclipse Foundation organization, they used to give a name to every version, like Eclipse Kepler, Eclipse Juno, Eclipse Indigo, Eclipse Oxygen, Eclipse Photon. Like these names they used to give. Are you following or not? But what happened at some specific time, they stopped giving the name and they started giving only month and year instead of giving a name to new version. Are you following or not? So there are a lot of packages are there, right? See, So before this packages, this is the latest version. Okay, which version? 2025 to 1. If you want to see all the previous version, you can go here. See more downloads we have or not. In more download, what we have? Older versions. One option is there or not? Click that option. You will see all the versions. See the versions. So how many versions are there? Lot of versions are. If you want to see even more older, go to second page. See, these are more older version. But observe here. What is the name? Photon. What is that? Oxygen. What is that? Neon. Mars. Means planet names they are giving. Kepler, Luna, Juno, Indigo. Are you following or not? And see, go to next version. See, first version is Ganymede. And after that, some other versions came. Which one? Galileo, Helios, Indigo, Juno, Kepler, Luna, Mars, Neon, Oxygen, Photon. After Photon, they stop giving name. They giving only month and year as a version. Are you following or? So what is the latest one? So up to you, which one you want to use, you can use it. Older version, new version, or middle version, up to you. It's better go for new version only. Click on this new version. After clicking on that, you need to go to download packages. Okay. So see. So we have several download packages. See, we have Eclipse-IDE for Java developer. We have Eclipse-IDE for Enterprise Java and Web developer. Enterprise Java developer and Web developers. And we have Eclipse-IDE for C, C++. Eclipse committers. Java and DSL developers. C, C++ developer. PHP developers. Following or not? So then we need Eclipse-IDE for C, C++ developers, right? We need Eclipse-IDE for Java developers, Java enterprise and Java developers. See, if you download the first package, you can use that Eclipse-IDE only to develop core Java application, but not web application. But if you want to use an Eclipse-IDE to develop both core Java application and web application, you need to go to this second option. If you download this IDE, this package, you can able to develop both core Java application and web application. So same IDE we can use in core Java as well as advanced Java. But if you download the first package, you can use only in core Java. You cannot use in advanced Java. For advanced Java, you need to download second one. So which one is better? Second one. That's why download second. Are you following? Don't click on it. Here you have an option to download. For Windows, we have Eclipse-IDE. For Mac or OS, we have. And for Linux, right or not? So we are using Mac, right or not? We are using Mac. So we are using which operating system? Windows. 3 operating systems are there. Windows. So we need to download which one? Either this one you can download, this one. So better download x86 64. Windows x86 64. Which one? Eclipse Enterprise Java and Web Developer. Click on it. Now download will start. See. No, not started. Now again you need to click on download. Now download will start. See, started or not? Started or not? Not cancelling. Okay. Why? I have already downloaded in my computer. You have also downloaded, right or not? So you'll also cancel. If you have already Eclipse-IDE, don't download. Okay. Use. But I have shown you how to download. Wait until it's completes. It is completed. Wait. Once it is completed, which file you will get? Zip file. Extract the zip file. You don't need to install this. It is the zip file, not an installer. Every software comes in 2 forms. One is installer, one is compress file. One is installer file, one is compress file. Installer file means .exe file, executable file. Zip file, compress file means zip file. You need to just extract and use it. No need to install. But installer file, .exe file is installer file. Yeah, we have to install after downloading. But compress file is zip file. We no need to install. Just extract and use it. So Eclipse-IDE is not a installer. It is a compressed file, zip file. You need to just extract and use it. Are you following or not? So where you will get this zip file? In downloads folder. Which folder? So in downloads folder, we need to go and get the Eclipse-IDE. Are you following or not? And I have taken from downloads folder and I have kept in D drive under softwares C. Here I have placed. What is the latest one? Eclipse-IDE 2025 is there or not? In every batch I have downloaded one version. I have saved. I started saving from 2023. And before that, I used to use Kepler, Juno, Indigo. Very old ID. Then I shifted to latest ID. Now this is 2025. Let's go there, shall we? Now see, we got a zip file or not? Select the zip file and say show more option, delete, right or not? Extract here. Extract. It takes some time. After extraction, you will get one folder like this. Now you can, if you want, you can delete the zip file before extracting. No? You'll delete before extracting. So after extracting, delete it. Now we got it. A folder, na? Go to that folder. In that we have lot of files and folders or not. You don't need to install. We have one file C. What is the file? Eclipse.exe. Just double click on that file. Eclipse-IDE will open. Like this. Click. Eclipse-IDE will open. Is this clear? This is third month. 2025, third month they have released. March release. Are you following up? If you want, download latest one. December release. Some changes will be there. Are you following or not? New versions will support. New versions of ID will support new versions of Java. Are you following or not? Understood, everyone? So you tell me to open Eclipse-IDE every time we need to go to D drive softwares, this folder or not? So do one thing. Go once. Do after this, select this file. Right click. And then we have an option here. What is the option? The option is pin to taskbar. But for me it is showing why I already pinned to taskbar. You can create a shortcut here. Are you following or not? So to open the Eclipse-IDE, no need to go to every time the folders, right or not? We can use this shortcut and we can directly open the Eclipse-IDE. Are you following or not? So when I open the Eclipse-IDE, it will ask workspace. What it will ask? How to change the workspace, all those things we will discuss. Is this clear? Now after ID will open, I'll show you what is perspective, what are the different perspectives are there, and what is the default perspective. Okay, which perspective we need to use, how to see which perspective it is, how to change the perspective, what a perspective contains views, all those things we will discuss. Okay, so we'll do one thing. Time is over. I'll continue from here in the next class. Okay, you can leave. We will continue next class.